That's fun. That is by far the most efficient this has ever worked.
Yeah?
For me, anyway.
It's funny.
Yes.
Let me check something. It's coming through. I have my headphones in. I don't know why it's not coming through my headphones, but if not, this will work too. Let's see. It's all the troubleshooting. Can you hear me clearly, though?
Yeah, I hear you perfectly fine.
Oh, there it goes. Now it's in my headphones. I don't know why I did that. Cool, man.
Always takes a second, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. How are you tonight?
I'm good. I'm chilling. Just, little anticipation, but I'm good.
You and me both, man. This is so far outside of my normal thing, being in front of the camera anymore.
Yeah. No, but I love that you're doing it. I think, I wasn't aware that you were doing this when we first were talking, but I felt like we're on the same vibe of kind of just like stepping out of our comfort zone, putting
Mhm.
ourselves out there, trying to connect, create community,
Yeah, yeah.
which is something that I'm always been an advocate for. So I
Heck
love
yeah.
it.
Heck yeah. Well, we're just small talk each other to death for a couple of minutes and give people a chance to hop in, and then I'll
Absolutely.
start in the deep questions, right?
Yeah, you can steer the ship.
Right. I'm super excited. I had the rim light tonight, so I'm very excited about my rim light. I feel very adult.
No, it looks great. I have my little Aperture MCs. I was like, I'll do maybe a little like a warm and a little orange and
Yeah,
turquoise.
yeah.
Just try to give it a little bit of got these shadows, but whatever.
My old DP's Instagram handle is I've got double shadows or something like
That's
that.
funny.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
It's like,
It's like what?
oh, I'll say like multiple light sources.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, exactly. All that technical gibber jabberish. I'm 20% sure that one of these lights is going to turn off in the middle somewhere sometime.
You know what? I have that bet as well. They're pretty charged, and they're not at 100% intensity, so it should last, but we'll see. If it just one of the lights just
Right?
goes out.
Like all these lights say they have like 4 hours left, which means they could easily turn off in 20 minutes.
Exactly. They do like the what's the highest number we can say without being sued? It's like, well, if you keep it at like
Right,
5%, it'll
right.
last you all
Yeah,
day.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. If you keep it close to a power source and only turn it on 2%, you have infinite time.
There you go.
Heck yeah. Cool. Just a couple more minutes.
Hmm.
This is always the most awkward part of these conversations. I've definitely figured that out on the very first one is between me just sitting and staring at the camera trying to figure out if the person's logged on and
Yeah.
yeah, my old ass brother was like, I don't know, turn on your thing and you're just sitting there staring at the camera. I was like, what's wrong with him? And it clicked off and I was like, all right, don't be old.
The technical parts, yeah. This this was though like we'll talk about it because that video we shot basically during the pandemic. But I worked on projects that were like I literally had to direct people through like Zoom. It
Mm,
was
mm.
so they'd send them like the
Yeah,
equipment and give them a little tutorial how to set it up, and then I'd literally be like on the Zoom like, now can you let me see the screen? Now angle it. It's just
hilarious.
yeah. So
Okay, well, I mean, sheesh, we're here now. Like, were
yeah.
you on? Were you in person for Hot Summer?
Yes. So that was it was only three of us, including the artist.
Mm,
It
mm,
was I want to say that would have been probably 2021. So it would have been no, I'm trying to think though exactly because obviously the artist Mike Taylor wrote that song as sort of a reaction to what was been going on post the George Floyd murder, and yes, I'm trying to think like everything in that time period. I had no sense of like 2020 to 2022 is all just one. It's just those 3 years are just like 1 year to me.
yeah,
So
yeah,
in that time, but yeah. So that
for
one I
sure.
was in person. A couple other projects. It was more early on, I think, and it all just came down to the comfort level of the person
Mhm.
that we were shooting for. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, listen, we kind of skipped ahead, obviously, but
We could
introduce
step.
yourself. Yeah, yeah, right. It's the brave new world of the internet. No one
Yeah,
cares.
exactly.
But if you want to take a second and just introduce yourself, your job titles, kind of what you're into, and we'll go from there. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm Stephen Nicholas Smith. I'm a writer, director, and DP. Spent a lot of time out here DP, cam mopping, um, focusing, and writing throughout the whole time too, but then also really kind of finding opportunities to focus on more directing. Although I still am very like, I love the visual part of it, so I think I'll always still like be involved in that. But part of it's been kind of letting go in certain projects, and you have a DP having that conversation, and then I just focus on the directing. But a lot of these projects, Slice Productions, you do wear multiple hats and you switch quite often. But yeah, so yeah, directing, writing, and DPing.
Nice. And are you from Los Angeles?
So actually, I'm from Philly. I technically I was born in Seoul. I can give you from the
Oh,
beginning. Yeah,
go.
so I was born in Seoul, South Korea. My dad was in the military, so he was stationed in Korea, and he met my mom over there. My mom's Korean. Lived there for a couple of years. I was really young. If I do have any memories, it's because of like pictures.
Mm.
I assume. But then came to the States when I was about 2 or 3 years old. Moved around few states and cities, and then my dad got out of the military because he didn't want to keep moving for my sake, changing schools and stuff. So we settled outside in a suburb of Philly called Westchester. Went through grade school, and then I ended up going to college in Philly, and then was there for about 10 plus years, and then moved to LA in 2011. 2011, yeah.
Okay.
So I've been out here for over a decade
Okay.
too. So yeah.
Nice. So are you just celebrating like gangbusters with your Eagles and all?
Oh hell yeah, yeah. I'm a diehard Eagles fan. Eagles, Flyers, Philly Sixers, Philly sports team. We are a special breed, and yeah. So this was a really good year.
Mm.
So we're still riding high.
I bet the tush push and all that good stuff, right?
They're trying to ban it. You know that?
I mean, at some point, it's anyway.
You got to
That's a
stop
whole.
it. Yeah, yeah. Exactly. That's a different conversation.
I guess I'm talking to Stephen Smith, even though the middle initial is different. So maybe anyway.
Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah. Exactly. Stephen A. Smith, Stephen N. Smith.
Right, right. But going back to Hot Hot Summer, can you tell me just a little bit about the origin of that and how you met the artist and just yeah, let's talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah. So I've actually known Mike Taylor since I was 19. So he's one of my best friends. We actually met out in Philly in the whole hip hop scene, and he was a musical artist, still is a musical artist, and he actually has a background in filmmaking as well.
Mm.
And so anytime we work on anything together, there's different kind of musical artists. Some are they just focus on the music, and then there's others that actually have like a bigger vision. And
Mm.
Mike's one of those guys that just he has a full vision for a lot of his songs, a lot of his ideas. So when it comes to him, usually he approaches me like, I have this song, I have this idea, and then it's just my job to help him basically facilitate it. So for
Mm.
that one, he approached me about doing this video. Like I said, it was a reaction to everything that's been going on, with the pandemic, and then the police brutality, and then George Floyd.
Mm.
And he had this idea to use a projector. So he was like, "We'll keep it simple." He sourced a lot of the stock footage of just all as you see in the video, and then he's like, "We'll just project that onto him, and then we'll film it a few times, different parts of the song." And maybe a few months before that, we were doing photos for another song, and we was a song called Starglow. So we went up to like it's off Sunset towards like East LA. There's this really cool area. It's actually the other side of like Dodger Stadium where you can see the cityscape really nicely. And we were playing with like light, basically like painting with lights, and then he had this outfit. It was a 3M outfit, so 3M is like that reflective material. And
Mhm.
so we would use flash for the photos, and it would just basically he would just be completely blacked out, but the outfit would just be like bright, and then you see the city lights, and then we would use like light to paint and like really cool, like, you know, just cool like light graffiti, I guess you'd call it. And I was remember that shoot, and I was like, why don't you? I was like, bring that.
Hold
Yeah.
on. When you say light painting, I know what it is, but if anybody else is watching, can you just give
Right.
a
Yeah.
description?
So when you're taking a photo, if you get like a slow shutter speed, you can then take like a light, any light source. You can use cell phone light, no matter. You basically face it towards the lens, and you move it, and it records the streaks basically into your image. So I remember that photo shoot we did, and I was like, why don't you bring that same outfit? Because for the projector, we could shoot like we have so for a lot of it we shoot it against a white cyc, so it's projected on him but also onto the white wall. But then there's parts where it almost looks like animation, right? Like the way like just the richness of the color from the projector, and that's just literally shining that light, the projector, onto just his outfit. It reflected it, and then in post could just like basically crush the blacks in the back, so it just looks like he's cut out, and then he's moving and stuff. So yeah, so I was really, we were both really happy with like what we were able to do. Literally, it was me, him, and one other person,
Nice.
and we found a place to rent, and that had a cyc wall, and so the one is against the cyc, and then literally just turned the camera around, turned the projector around, and just like didn't light the background, so it would just fall off in the black, and to just shine lights on him. And then there's the other part, the performance pieces, was just without the projector, just with lights, and then added some film look to it.
I love that because even when I was watching, I personally was curious how you guys made the shot of essentially him looking cut out and only lit him, and I thought that was really cool. So I didn't know if that was like you were rotoscoping or something crazy in post, but it's cool to hear that you did that practically in the camera.
Yeah, no, it was all in camera, and again, it's like what's cool about stuff like this is right now it's pretty low stakes. Like you just experiment and try things, and that one, it's cool when you have like an idea and a vision, and then you execute, and you're like, it actually came out even better than we expected.
Yeah.
And then there's just moments where like he has that that fire burst like at that part of the song where just like it's just, and then the shot at the end I think is when he's turned around. There's the American flag projected onto him, and it just again looks cut out. Like it looks. If I didn't shoot it and someone told me they rotoscoped and animated it, I'd be like, that's what it looks like too.
Right. No, for sure. Like literally, that was my first thought. But it's super cool. And then like adding to that was the the credits were like some of the best credits I've seen in an indie film on this level, and they're at the end of the music video.
Yeah, Stefan Keatsman, he's a dope visual artist. Another guy from Philly, lives out here now too. He painted that. And then Mike actually edited the video too, so he was able just to take the elements and animate it in the way he did.
That's dope.
But it was like I said, it's like, and this is what we've been talking about. It's like, and this is the whole point of this series. Like your friends are dope, It's like we just need to like keep making stuff, and that's kind of like it's kind of where I'm at right now too. So
hell yeah, that's it's a funny thing building community, right? Like when I was younger, when I first started this filmmaking journey, like friends, we'd stay up all night, we'd drive out there, we'd do this all night. Now it's like you call somebody, like, oh, the kids are sick, and the dog, and the thing, and my wife, or my husband doesn't want to, and so the stakes have changed a little bit, and people are like, oh, if you $500 a day, or I'm just going to have to go do it, which I understand on one hand, but also it's like, I pine for those days where we could just call somebody up and be like, let's just go make this thing.
Yeah. No, it's tough. And I've had many conversations like this. I was talking to another DP friend of mine, and, we met up for coffee, and we are just talking about how, like, when you were younger, you just, you took a camera out to play, it was all just play. And like you said, when the stakes are different, and then, and I respect it, it's like we got bills to pay. Yeah. You gotta work. And then there's the whole, like, the balance of, all right, so there's the pursuit of jobs, right? So I can pay the bills. But then it's also like what I want to do as a career, but also what is fulfilling as an artist. And sometimes it's hard to find, it can sometimes feel like you're being irresponsible if you're not making money while you're doing what you're doing. But you try to step back from that and also look at it like, well, if I'm trying to build this thing, it's not going to happen. I can't just decide one day I want to be there. I gotta lay each brick, brick by
Yeah.
brick, and hopefully after X amount of years or whatever, you have something. And
Yeah.
even more so, trying to get all your friends on the same page and like let's all build together.
Mhm.
It makes it a little easier. And then also it's fun. You also have fun. You got to have fun while we're still here. So.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, it's fun. It's addictive. It's a drug. Even when you're doing it, it's just like, what am I doing? This is so hard. This is so frustrating. And then you're editing and you're like, oh, this is taking too long. And then you're like posting and chasing people around to try to get things finished. You're like, why? And then it's all done. You're watching it like, that's pretty cool.
And then
like,
and then the next day, this is my issue, right? So it's like you work on a project. It's fun, but it does require work. Sometimes it requires sleepless nights, and you're just like, man, I can't wait till this is done so I can just rest.
Mhm.
And like half a day into the first day off, you're just like, I'm bored.
yeah, for
I need
sure.
to do something else, another project. But that's I think where you realize when you can really know that like this is something I love doing. Like I
Yeah.
really love doing it.
Yeah. Addiction is a real thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny because so far I've pretty much just interviewed directors who are still on the upward trajectory and still trying to get to there wherever that is. And somehow this meme that my friend Elliot sent me comes up in every conversation. But it just feels so true, and I'd love to get your take on it. It says, paraphrasing, like one day I'm on top of the world and feel like artistic genius. The next day I'm contemplating if I need to fill out an application at Best Buy. Do you have that kind of juxtaposition in your?
Yeah. I think, yeah, I guess it depends, right? Because it's a tough journey. It is. And this is, I think, what we were saying. And there's no shame in doing that. Sometimes you got to do it. Sometimes you have to work those jobs just to get by. But I think, you got to be honest with yourself. It's like, could you see yourself giving up this passion, right?
Mm.
Is it a passion still? And that's just it's an honest conversation one has to have. And I also get like there's different stakes, especially people that have families, people that want something else, and what they're doing now is not getting them there. But I think what it comes down to is, any creative endeavor, there is the lack of consistency,
Mm-hmm.
and but I also know from myself, like I'm also the type of person that if I had to go to the same job every day for the next several years, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna kill myself, but like I can't see myself doing that, and it's tough. Again, no shame, and I've had to get random jobs here. And I was a brand ambassador for a cannabis company for over a year, pre-pandemic. I did background for a year, which actually I always recommend anybody in this industry that wants to make movies, whether it's directing, writing, whatever,
Yeah.
be background because it's humbling, but it's also like a great way to learn how sets are ran. It's firsthand education, and they're paying you, to be there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I've had the pleasure of actually meeting a lot of great people, other background actors, and a lot of people there. It's funny because there's some that they're like lifelong background
Mm-hmm.
actors, and they love it, and that's what they do, and it's like a couple $100 a day for whatever, and that's great, and that's great. There's a lot of also, actors, that want to be like, leading roles. And there's also a lot of other people that are just in other creative fields like I've met a lot of writers, a lot of other cam operators, DPs and stuff. And yeah, it's cool. And even those are a lot of fun, especially the projects that I was on for multiple days. You kind of build that camaraderie,
Yeah.
so.
And, I mean,
And you get to see what how a good set's ran and how a bad set's ran, and the different kind of attitudes and hierarchies. It's interesting.
Yeah, no, and you're around it, and it's hard to explain what it is to just be around it. You bring up an interesting point. What's the process?
As far as
Whatever that means. Whatever that means.
Like process of create the process. No, this is. I'm very so. Here's the thing. I'm very cynical.
Okay.
I've worked so much to be like knock that part down, but I do believe like that's still. I think that's why a lot of people actually do love me because they like my cynicism. I'm half joking. No, the process is sitting in front of your computer, staring at a screen, and being like, "What? I don't want to. How do I start?" Right? That's a lot of it. Um, yeah, it depends on the project. I think for me, the way I like to operate is if it's whether it's something that's brought to me or it's something that I've written or want to shoot. I do a lot of pre-production. That's one of the things that I learned the way I sort of am. I also taught like filmmaking courses to like inner city schools and at-risk youth and like even juvenile detention centers. So I've had to basically construct like curriculums
Mm-hmm.
and which actually I thought it actually helped me a lot because it's one thing to understand how to do something, it's another thing to be able to articulate it, and
Right.
take those ideas from my brain to someone else's. But one of the things I always stressed was pre-production was like do everything you can in that phase because you're going to run into issues on set. It's always going to happen. Someone's not going to show up, or you're going to lose a location, whatever, or a camera's going to break, or something, right? So it's like you want to make sure you're prepared as much as you can. That way, when those things do happen, all your energy can be focused on fixing that.
Yeah.
So my process is I do like to storyboard. I'll take a script, I'll break it down, I'll do storyboards, and then I essentially want to go into the shoot kind of metaphorically already shot it, right? You see the scenes, you see the storyboards, but I also leave room on the day of production for opportunities.
Yeah.
I'm not married
Yeah.
to the storyboards. The storyboards are just there for me to be like, look, if we get nothing else but this, I know I can have a finished piece. I can cut it together. But then leaving that room to be able to play, and again, depending on the kind of project or how much time you have, giving the opportunity for people to play and come up with new ideas and new things. And then from there, it's post, and you hope you got everything you needed, and you get to find out after you cut it, and then you either celebrate or you go, oh, I wish I did this. But also, and another thing is too, knowing when something is finished.
Right.
You could always be better, but you got to just kind of get to the point where you're like, all right, this is as good as it's going to be, and put it out there, and on to the next one.
Yes. My good dear friend Janine points out that the storyboards are essentially sketches and it's not the finished work also, so she agrees with you.
Yeah.
You mentioned your work with at-risk youth while perusing through all of your work and all those kinds of things. I did notice a project you worked on, or I'm assuming it's the whole thing you worked on, that was taking scripts written by people who couldn't produce them and you produced them, or tell me more about that.
Yeah. So it was two different companies. So when I was in Philly, there was an organization called the Big Picture Alliance, and as actually a matter of fact, Mike Taylor got me involved because he went through that program when he was younger, and that was you basically went into a school and different. Sometimes you had like the school long programs. It's an after school program, so I'd be there once or twice a week for pretty much the whole school year.
Yeah.
And then other ones that are more accelerated, like it's like basically 5 days, like a workshop. I did one at the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Those were like kind of 5-day workshop in 2 different weeks. And you basically teach them everything from pre-pro to production to post, every element, acting, cam mopping, and then you would teach them, writing, script writing, and you would have them, write the scripts or write in groups. And from there, you help them shape it and then break it down. And then I'd be there for the actual production.
So,
You would assign roles like, this person's directing, that person's a DP, that person's acting. Obviously, like me and other teachers would step in when we needed to. But ideally, you want to be sort of hands off,
mm-hmm.
to the point where let them, like with any good art project, you want them to be the artist. You want them to make the mistakes and then learn from it.
Yeah.
So I did that in Philly. Out here, I got involved with a company called Inside Out Writers, And what they did is they went into prisons and had a writing program. And first it was just like really just like them like kind of journaling and just like, you know, writing, just kind of just writing whatever they want to write. And then from there, they started coming up with ideas to like, you know, we could also have them write like these short pieces, like these short film, like these script ideas. And then I was brought in once they had a project. It was, I think, co-written by one of their staff members too. And they sourced people that actually were that had then come out of prison. So they were also worked with another program called the Anti-Recidivism Coalition.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the idea was they'd go in, rehab, and the whole point was so when they were to come out, they could be productive members of society.
Mm-hmm.
And the person who heads ARC, he's a movie producer, and he was able to get a lot of them placed in production jobs. And so they worked with Inside Out writers, and Inside Out writers brought, I think it was like 5 or 6 formerly incarcerated people to work on the project.
Oh,
and
nice.
yeah, and the guy that I co-directed it with, he went through the system too, and then our whole crew was full of people from that. And yeah, so we shot that, and then I think that's buttoned down. So a sample I sent you,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And that one, and you know what was cool was that one was directly related to someone who it's about a grandmother. Like, I won't give too much of it away, but it's basically you see her take this journey, and you know you find that she's delivering a shirt to her grandson,
Mm-hmm.
and who's getting, you know, arraigned in court. So it's like kind of showing the struggle, you know, the obstacles that family members have to go through, you
Yeah.
know, when you know, if you make a mistake, if you find yourself going through the system.
Yeah.
So that was a story.
That's cool. Like, we met not too long ago, and we're still we're at the infancy stage of our particular friendship. But I know that one of the things we kind of bonded over, kind of immediately, was just kind of a sense of justice and
Mm-hmm.
using art as a kind of a bullhorn or megaphone for justice and people and things like that. Talk a little bit about your inspiration and kind of what your North Star is and what you want to accomplish with what you create.
Yeah. So, you know, as a consumer of entertainment, like I have a pretty eclectic taste. I love all kinds of movies, TV shows. I have a pretty wide taste. And I find that when I'm on the other side of it, when I'm working on something or when I'm creating something, I'm more drawn to those things that have maybe like a deeper meaning, deeper message.
Mm-hmm.
And that's no shade to the other stuff, because I think honestly, like, entertainment and escapism is important. I think you need that too, and I definitely enjoy that. And that's not to say that I'll never make something that's like that, but I just feel like, you know, as far as the stuff I want to say, I think art is in filmmaking and movies and TV and everything. I think it does a lot to actually change people's minds.
Mm-hmm.
I think more so than most people give it credit to. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you hear a lot of times, like, it's the first thing that gets, well, there's a lot of things are getting cut now, but the first thing that usually gets cut in funding is the arts.
Yeah.
And we look at the arts in this kind of sort of this kind of extracurricular way, and it's like, you know, I think part of that is just because we live in this capitalist society, this capitalist mindset where it's like, no, we need to make money, and this is how you make money, and you need to learn these things first. And like, yeah, math, science, all stuff is very important. Obviously, you should learn that. But I think art actually, I know just from studies I've seen too, like, people that are involved in art tend to do a lot better in school, you know, tend to do a lot better in society, you know. And I think a lot of the changes we see over the years, you can really like look at TV, you can look at movies, you can look at, you know, one example, like for like the LGBTQ movement, you know, before Will and Grace was on TV, you know, there was, you know, most of America was still like, you know, afraid, you know, they didn't think they knew anybody in that community. But then when you start seeing depictions of them on TV, They're like, oh, they're just like us. They're normal. They have normal It's like, no shit. It's like, yeah,
Right, right.
exactly. And it's like, but you know, again, sometimes you got to meet people where they're at,
Yeah.
right? So, I think it's important to tell stories that show other perspectives, that show like, you know, the kind of things other people go through. And also, like, on top of that, like, I also don't just want to make stories about people's struggles. Like, let's make stories about people's joy, you know, like,
Mhm.
you know, and I think that's another thing. I mean, look, it's important, right, to have both. But yeah, I think, you know, and as I think about it more and reflect on it, you know, I'll listen to certain podcasts and I'll hear interviews of certain people, and you know, I didn't don't anticipate how much it actually would affect me. So, example being is, as a kid, I you barely see Asians on TV, and when you do, it's a very specific role.
Mhm.
It's like the martial artist,
Mhm.
right? Or at worst, it's a white guy playing an Asian guy and doing an Asian stereotype, right?
Mhm.
So, for me personally, like, this is what's interesting too about me on like deciding to pursue this career is, when I was young, I never thought about this as being an option, you know?
Right,
And
right.
what's interesting is, when I think about it and I loop everything back, I realize, like, yeah, I've always loved movies.
Mhm.
I'm watching movies. I would always I like that escapism, you know? And it wasn't until senior year of high school that I even had the idea that, like, oh, I could do something in this field as a job,
Well,
you
yeah.
know? Um, so, because prior to that, I was, it's always a funny story. Because when you're a junior in high school, you meet your guidance counselor, or you have your meetings, and they're trying to figure out what you're going to do next. You're going to enroll in college, where you're going next. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. At the time, I was playing hockey, and I remember I told this to my guidance counselor. They're like, "What do you want to do as far as like a career? We can find some schools that have good hockey programs. What about as far as like what you want to study?" And I'm like, "Oh no, my parents say I'm good at arguing, so maybe a lawyer." So we started looking up like schools that had like law programs,
Right, right.
and but yeah, then it was the senior year. There was an elective. It was like granted, this is like 2000, right? So this is,
Mhm.
I'm aging myself. 2000, 2001, they had like a media elective. So they offered in that one course, you basically got to do like radio, TV, photography, and a couple other things. And from there, I was like, this is interesting. And then that next counselor meeting, I was like, what about this? Like, I want to do something like this. And then we started looking at schools in Philly that offered like film and like digital media programs.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I went to Drexel for digital media and modern film and video. And I initially went in doing like 3D animation.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so you know, I worked on like 3D Studio Max and Maya, did some character animation. But this is like early 2000s, and it's you know, the technology is leaps and bounds ahead now. But I remember in my film and video minor, I liked the idea of kind of being the person that saw the bigger picture, you know?
Mhm.
Because at the time, I remember thinking like, yeah, if I can get a job working on like an animation, like doing 3D animation, that'd be cool. But then I was like, no, no, I want to create the story. I want to tell the story. I
Yeah,
want to,
yeah.
you know, do that. And then I think, you know, we talked about it a little bit, but I got really into cameras and the tech and the gear. I just became obsessed with that too. So, you know,
Yeah.
my first camera was a Panasonic DVX 100B, which was the first like prosumer camera that shot 24 frames per second.
Did that have the card, the
It,
P
no,
whatever
it
card?
had the MIDI DV. It was before that.
Gotcha,
That
gotcha.
was the HVX. It had the P2 card,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
before that, it was the MIDI DV tapes. And then even
Gotcha.
before that, they had like other ones, the high eights and whatever. But
That's funny. I
I,
was cleaning up my production studio back here today, and I found my first video camera that used DV tapes and things. And I was surprised it didn't eat the DV tapes,
right.
but I was like looking at DV tapes. And yeah, anyway, that was 30 minutes of my life I completely threw away looking at old
Oh
tapes.
man, it's great. I was literally just looking at like old videos because I just got a new computer. I built a new computer, so I'm transferring all the files
Mhm.
over. And it's like it's almost like when you're moving into a new place. It's like certain things you're like, I don't need this. You just like throw it
Yeah.
away. That's what I was like looking through files. Like, I don't need this file. Delete it. But there's folders of just like old like DV, like captured DV video. I'm just like, wow, this is crazy. Probably wasted like 3 hours that night.
Okay,
Actually.
good. I'm not
Yeah.
alone. I'm not alone
Yeah.
in so much of what you just mentioned. How about money is no object. There's no limit to what is available to you. What would you be making right now? What would you make tomorrow?
Oh wow. I mean, phew, I have a couple of finished scripts. I have a lot of half finished and just different phases. I mean, I have to just pick one thing right now.
Just for
No,
fun sake, yeah, for sure.
well, here's the funny thing. Actually, I haven't finished writing it, but I have this one story I'm writing. It's a it takes place in the 70s. It's let me like it's hard to because I haven't finished it. It's about a guy who he's a musician and he is it's a black musician, black guitar player, singer. He gets stopped by the CIA, and
Mm,
they want to use him to infiltrate this record label, basically. And the thing is, his whole dream is to get signed by this
yeah,
record label,
yeah,
and the CIA is like basically like, we want you. Well, we got a guy on the inside. He'll sign you, and he's excited. Like, wait, he's gonna actually sign me? He's like very excited. He's like, no, but you'll be working for us. Like, yeah, but
right,
I'll be signed though, right? He's like, yes, but you'll be working for us. So it's that kind of
yeah,
like tone.
yeah,
But the whole thing is, it's basically him going in. The U.S. government wants to basically, they think they're claiming that this record label is a front for like trafficking and drugs and all that stuff. Um, he gets involved, and then he's faced with a decision like, because this is his dream. So does he continue to work for the CIA and like kind of basically bring this record label down, or does he run with this new fame? You know,
mhm,
um, I won't say, I won't give much away, but the thing is, once he's on the inside, what he starts to think they're not actually doing is what he thinks is, which is, if you look at the history books, is they just don't like, because it's a predominantly black label,
mhm,
and they don't like that. And again, it's the 70s, so it's like in the just out of around the end of towards the end of Vietnam
yeah,
War, just kind of how they demonize hippies. They're
mhm,
trying to like make them the scapegoat. They want to get rid of because they're very like anti-war, anti-government. So it's not even it's like their thing is like, oh, they're doing all this bad stuff, but then it's like, are they? So that's kind of the
yeah,
I just
yeah,
have this fascination with that era.
yeah,
The older I get, I feel like it's just the irony. Like, we have technology. I mean, we can do this, which is
right,
amazing. Like, I'm not sitting here
right.
being like things are better back then. Obviously, it wasn't for a lot of people. But I do miss just being able to turn the phone off or not having a phone, not just being in the moment and stuff. So I'm fascinated with that era, especially. So yeah, I've just been doing a lot of research too at that time. And it's pretty cool, and that's probably the story I would want to make right now.
Gotcha. That's awesome. That's a great story. Like, I look forward to as when we're offline talking more about that and kind
Yeah,
of about.
yeah, definitely.
Um, so in that same vein, like we're all kind of again, everyone I've interviewed so far has kind of been in the same point of life and same point of their career. What do you see as being the barriers to entry to the Cool Kids Club? And also part two of that question is, do you believe that do you believe that all things being equal and given the same tools and access, that the people who are in the club are superior artists, or is there something else afoot that provides them the repeated opportunities to perform on that level?
I so I think this is a very complex and complicated situation. I think. Well, let me first say this. Here's 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 what I want. As far as the Cool Kids Club, right? I think the easiest way I can answer that is, I don't necessarily want to be in the Cool Kids Club. I want me and my friends to create a new Cool Kids Club.
Yes.
And one of the things, I thought about this too, because there's filmmakers that I look up to, and honestly, if given a chance to work with them, I would do it. However, that's not actually my my goal, right? my goal is to, you know, speaking of memes, I love this meme. It says, I just want to do hood rat shit with my friends.
yeah,
And, but if you really like break that apart, it's just like, I want to do what I want to do with the people I want to do it
yeah,
with. And again, going along the lines of what this is, like, you look around, like, actually, my friends are pretty talented. And, you know, sometimes it's just, yeah, the opportunities aren't there. But I think it's on us to make the noise, kick down the doors. And the easiest way to do that is just to like come together and make stuff and just keep making
yeah,
stuff. And if it's good, you know, I believe if it's good, it'll find its
yeah.
audience, and then they'll come calling, and then they'll try to take what you made and find and learn the wrong lessons of it. Just kidding. No, I'm obviously
you're,
have a very,
you're
very,
kidding,
very
but you're not
cynical,
kidding. You're kidding, but you're
very
not kidding.
cynical view.
It's
You know what? What's going on right now with
hilarious.
the industry?
It's hilarious, my
What's
friend. Again, Janine chimed. As soon as you said that I want to do a hood rat shit with my friends, I'm like, I think that's Janine's. I think that's her go. I think that's her like moniker
yeah?
in life. She's like, yeah.
No, hell yeah. Because you know, listen, we talked about this a little bit on the phone the other day. Like, I do, even you asked me to do this, I'm like, it's that whole imposter syndrome, right? It's like, even if I was like, so David Fincher is a favorite director of mine. You know, I'm a big fan of Tarantino. I'm a big fan of Tony Scott. Tony Scott, rest in peace. Also, Val Kilmer, rest in peace. Put a pin in that. Actually, that's kind of, I want to share that part too, because Top Gun, well, I'll get to that in a second. So yeah, so I'm losing my train of thought here.
Hood rat
What were we talking about?
with friends. Janine theme to life.
Yeah. Oh no, you know what? Okay, yeah. So so like I look up like David Fincher and all these other artists. No, you know what? I don't remember now. It's gone. Let me talk about the other thing I was going to say then. Maybe I'll remember it.
For sure.
No, so the interesting thing is, I was going back to when I said as a kid I loved watching movies, and my dad being ex-military or military even at the time, a lot of the movies that he watched, I watched. Some of them I was probably too young, but still like RoboCop, Total Recall, like
Yeah.
4 or 5 years old. But the movie I remember the most, watching the most, was Top Gun.
Mm.
And again, like as a kid, it's like it was a movie, and that's a whole different world, right? You know, I was sitting there in my GI Joe plane, watching Top Gun, and fast forward, I'm in college. Yeah, I'm in college, and a friend of mine, actually Mike Taylor, hits me up. Is like, "Yo, have you seen Man on Fire? It's the remake Tony Scott movie."
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, "No." He's like, "Dude." He's like, "Just like, where are you?" I was like, "Downtown." I was like, near Tower, right? He's like, "Buy it." So I went in, I bought it, put that thing on, and I'm just like, this is the best movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then I become like obsessed with Tony Scott, and then go through his filmography. I'm like, wait, he directed Top Gun, and I'm like, wait a second, I had a full circle moment.
Yeah,
It's like the movie I remember most as a child, and now I'm watching watching Man on Fire. I'm just like, this is like, it's meant to be. I want to watch a movie. And then I watched Seven after that, and I was like, yeah, I want to make movies. Those are the two movies, Seven and Man on Fire, that was like, I want to make movies.
Did we talk about that before? Because anytime anyone asks, which is a crazy full circle moment for us, because anytime anyone asks me what my favorite movie is, my reply every time is Tombstone, which is a whole story about how I had no idea Val Kilmer was Doc Holliday.
Yep.
In fact, the person who made me watch it, because again, I was a meathead football player. Like, I didn't care anything. I didn't think I cared about art.
Yeah.
But the girl I watched it with the next day, we were hanging out. I was like, Val Kilmer should have stopped acting after Top Gun. Like, he's a horrible actor. And she's like, really? Tell me more. And so I go on for like 5 minutes about how awful of an actor he is. And she's like, you realize he was Doc Holliday in the movie you watched last night? I was like, we have to go watch it again.
Yeah.
Like, and that was the third time we watched it. But then in the next answer always is in Man on Fire is my favorite cinematography in a movie ever. And I love it. It's probably my second favorite movie.
Yeah. I think that was Paul Cameron DP'd that, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Tony Scott directed Paul Cameron.
With this
Paul Cameron also did
hand crank.
Yeah, the hand crank, and then doing the bleach bypass stuff. Plus just the story, and this is another thing too. And then like anytime a Tony Scott movie came out, I would I'm watching it in theaters. And it's funny because a lot of people didn't like Domino, which was the next one he did,
Right.
and I love Domino. I
Yeah.
thought Domino was great. I mean, it was definitely very frenetic, but I thought just like it was. I thought like especially at that time, like Tony Scott made action movies unlike any other
Yeah.
director, and so I loved that. And then I also loved Seven, and became obsessed with Fincher. Anything Fincher's come out with, I pretty much he's been batting 1,000 for the most part. I mean, he has his better ones, but like, yeah, I always enjoy a Fincher movie. But Seven, again, I actually got to see Seven. They did a re-release in IMAX because they did a
Wow.
reprint
Okay.
and like a couple months ago. So I didn't get to see it in theaters when it first came out, but I got to see it recently. And it's incredible. It still holds up.
Holds up. Heck yeah. Um,
Yeah,
this hour has like flown by. If anybody that's watching has
Jesus.
any questions for myself or Steven, I'd love to get those answered for you. But just a couple of closing kind of questions. I know through stalking you a little bit online after I asked you to do this and making sure I did my homework on you, I see that you get to work with your muse quite frequently, and you guys seem to do some really cool, fun stuff. Tell me what that's like to have that synergistic kind of artistic household or whatever, and being able to kind of what's that dynamic like?
Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, my wife, Juliana, she's an actor. She's been out here longer than me. And just even, I've always had respect for actors. I think that's obviously, but like to kind of witness it firsthand, the amount of work they have to put in, the amount of rejection they met, and it's not to get down deep into this, but like just how things are now with like the self tapes and just how much onus is on
Right.
them. And she admittingly is like very thankful. She's like, I'm glad that I'm married to a director DP, so I have the equipment, we can film our stuff. But yeah, we actually we always feel like we don't is not we should be doing. I'm always we should be doing more.
Mhm.
And that's one of the things. But again, it's not her. It's not it's it's. I talked to you about this a little bit. When we met the other day. I've been very much like not I guess a fearful a little bit like because I want to make stuff, I want to put things out, but it is vulnerable,
Yeah.
right? And it's like there is it's you are putting yourself out there, and I think anybody who has actually good taste, you're gonna have that hesitation, but it's also just to kind of trust and be confident in your work, and again, it's not everybody's gonna love it. That's impossible, right?
Right.
But you just want to find the people that are going to, and you're not going to find those people unless you put your stuff out there. So, but yeah, as far as Jules and I, like we definitely have, I've written stuff for her, and we have stuff that we're going to be shooting, some short, like smaller stuff. But I actually have a bunch of other ideas, but a short film idea that's part of a bigger thing that I've written for her too. So it's just, it's always there's always something that we could be doing. So.
I love that. I love that. Oh man, that is dope. What are your parting thoughts? Do you have any pieces of knowledge that you want to share with there's a few people who aren't in the industry watching, a couple who are in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, well, first, I think ultimately it's like find your community, and I think it was actually, I think a lot of people come into this and they're thinking like, I need to meet that person on top. You need to meet that person on top. I need to get them to recognize me. And although that's not necessarily that could happen, but I think you need to look to the people to the left and right of you. Find the people that have similar passions. It was something I remember on a flight back from a job. They had the master classes on the plane, like
Mhm.
on the entertainment thing, and Issa Rae has one, and she talks about finding the people next to you,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
building, and then I'm a fan of her show Insecure, and then I learned about like how she got her opportunity. It's like she just did it. She made videos, put it on YouTube, found her community, and then again, it's like you do enough of this, somebody's bound to see it, and the right person sees it, and then look at her, she's killing it.
For sure.
So
She is crushing.
yeah,
That's a whole other conversation for another week. She is a fantastic human, and I have nothing but the utmost respect and admiration for her, for sure.
Yeah, and so I guess that's what it is. I think it's just you just find like-minded people, and I think it's important to find people that have share similar values and passion, and keep each other accountable.
Yeah.
I think that's also important, and check the egos at the door. And I think it's hard because again, it is a vulnerable thing to do to share your art, your creativity. But that's why it's important to be around good people, good
Yeah.
like-minded people that'll push you, but also understand that won't hurt you necessarily. If that makes sense.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Two last questions. We got a couple of minutes. What's next? What's next for you? What else should people be watching that you have made already?
So I'm editing another music video for an artist called The Only Ocean. It's a more simple thing because especially with today's climate with social media, it's like unfortunately the music video is kind of a dying art. The bigger artists still do it, and I think and again I think this stuff it's all reciprocal. It'll come back, right? But with social media, I think what's effective are these visuals, these eye-catching visuals. So something that I'm in the process of editing now that should be out next week
Okay.
for the first one. So that's coming out. I have a short film anthology series. It all takes place at a bar. I think I might have told you about this a little bit.
Okay.
That gonna start getting into pre-production, looking for locations, and then shooting that. And then,
Nice.
continue to write all these other projects I've been writing and trying to finish.
Awesome. Awesome. And what is in the next 5 minutes? What's the best thing you've ever shot, and what's your favorite thing you've ever shot or directed?
Ooh, oh man, it's a tough question. Best thing or favorite thing? Man, to rack my brain. I don't know. I don't know. It's tough. You know what it is too? I think what makes it tough is because I see every mistake.
Right. Right. For sure.
That goes back to what I'm saying. Like it's like when you know it's done, like it's finished, like this is done. Like you can only do so much, and a lot of times it's because it's like I know how the sausage is made, so I can see the errors. Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough question.
I love
But
it.
I do remember what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Because it was a question you asked me about. It's something about kind of like the state of the industry right now.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is I wanted to say this part too, because I think this is important. I think right now, a lot of let's just call it mainstream Hollywood, exists right now to make money, which is important, right? You got to make money because if you want this industry to continue to make stuff, you need money to back it. How that money is deviated, that's the the conflict. But I think with what a lot of people are complaining about right now, and you look at how much in debt like these companies are, I think it's a great opportunity for this is my call to like all the filmmakers, established filmmakers, the artists, the auteurs to foster in a new almost like a new economy for filmmakers. Where you don't need a $200 million budget movie. It's like if you've worked and you are entitled or you demand a $20 million signing bonus, like by all means, like you've earned that, sure, but take 10 million instead,
Right.
and then take the rest of that and put it back into production, elevate everybody else's below the line pay, and I think you'll have less stressed out, more happy, more passionate, more motivated people working on your project, and that in turn will create the best project. And I think if we get more of that, we're going to see more, better movies, better films. And that's I want to keep myself accountable for that. So even on sets today or in the future, if I'm able to get bigger budget movies or projects, I want to make sure that I maintain and create that atmosphere, and I think that's one of my big goals is to kind of change the culture in Hollywood. Something that I've always been afraid to say because it sounds, I don't know, pie in the sky, but you'll see examples like, Everything Everywhere All at Once. The more I hear about how that set was ran, I'm just like, that's beautiful. Like
Mm,
the way everybody felt like they all were there and they were all important and they were able to come together and make, in my opinion, one of the best films in the last 10 years.
for sure.
So
Agree.
I love hearing stuff like that.
Well, listen, man, that is the best possible spot to stop. I love that. I love that message. That's a great place to leave it off at. So I will thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking time out and spending an hour with me tonight. I'm so thankful to everyone who tuned in. I learned my lesson last week about calling people out live, so I will take it under advisement who's going to be on next week. But Stephen in Nichols, thank you so. I don't know why I just called you by your middle name and your last name, Stephen N. Smith.
It's
Thank
all
you
good.
so much for coming on, and yeah, appreciate you, man. And let's continue building community and continue finding ways to work together and just champion each other.
Absolutely, man. And I really appreciate you. Thank you for asking me to do this. Got me out of my comfort zone. And again, I just think like I love that you're doing this. I think this is important. I think we need more of this. And yeah, any way I can help and elevate and champion, I'll let people know about this series. But yeah, anything like you got my number, so let me know.
Heck yeah, appreciate you, man. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Stephen. Have a great night, guys.
You too, man.
All right.
Later.